Welcome back to GBRANZ. With me on the couch again this week is World Cup winning Wallaby Jeremy Poole. Hello, mate.
G'day, mate.
And in Sydney, on his way back from Cape Town, Justin Marshall. How are you, buddy?
G'day, lads. Good to see you. I'm closer to home. Not quite able to get there yet because of my connections. So made my way from Cape Town this morning to Joburg. Happened to be on the same flight as all the All Blacks. So obviously you could imagine what sort of a seat on the plane that I had, considering they were taking up all the really good ones. And then on here to Sydney, where I decided if I can't get all the way back because of connection problems, I'm going to treat myself by staying at Coogee Beach. So I've just wandered my way in. It's 25 degrees here in Sydney, and after we've recorded this podcast, I think I'm just going to go out and have a little bit of beach time, a little bit of me time, boys. There'll be no Speedos, but sunglasses will be on, and we'll see what we see.
Mate, it looks. What about that face of yours? Mate, you looked as bashed up as those All Blacks.
Can we give some context around this?
I'm more bashed up than then, to be perfectly honest, lads.
I hope you got that bugger. I hope you got him.
Oh, I didn't. Well, it'll be interesting when you hear the story to see whether or not there was anyone to get. But yeah, came in hot to Cape Town after the Test match in Joburg, and I've been having some dialogue with Brian Habana the week before about a game of paddle tennis. Now, paddle tennis is a bit of an unknown in Australasia, but it's the biggest growing sport in the world. So whenever I go away, I always try to organise a game because I really enjoy it. And now that I don't play squash, because when I play squash, I regularly tear muscles, paddle tennis is a little less of a problem on the body. So anyway, I've organised this game with Brian. It's for Tuesday. And the other thing is I know Andrew Mertens is in town. Now, the thing with Mertz is he was, back in the day, an awesome tennis player. Like when they did celebrity tennis events in Christchurch, like he's played with Steffi Graf and Andre Agassi and stuff like that. So, yeah, so I was right, I'll get Mertz as my partner. So anyway, I said, get yourself a partner, Brian, and we'll do Springboks versus All Blacks at paddle early in the week. So anyway, we turn up to the paddle court, which Brian really generously organises. As I turn up, I'm slightly late because I took a wrong turn. The other three are already there, so Brian's there with his work colleague, and they're regular partners. Mertz is standing there. As I walk in, they're explaining the rules to Mertz. I was like, oh, no, mate, I thought you knew how to play. Like, he's been living in Paris for 2 years. There's paddle courts on every second corner. This muppet hasn't played, so I was like, oh, my goodness, how's this going to play out? But anyway, we got out there and knocked the ball around a little bit, but you can just tell when Mertz is hitting volleys and doing his thing that he's a good player. So we crank into the game after the warm-up, and we actually start pretty well, to be fair, and things are going along nicely. We had to fight back into the first set, but we won the first set, and that's all good. You know, a few fist pumps, boom, boom, yep, going good. AB's up 1-0. Go into the second set, and Brian's starting to get a little agitated and struggling a little bit, and we're actually starting to wipe the floor with him. They can't even win a game now. Anyway, he plays a really awesome serve towards, so there's glass on a paddle court, towards the glass. And I'm like, you know what? No way, fuck you. I'm not even giving you a sniff. So I go, absolutely, I don't want him to get any confidence. So I go rifling towards the ball, and it hits the glass. So all I do is think, right, trap the ball at the same time as I hit it against the glass with my racket. So I went ding, like that. And it did exactly that. It pinged off, went over the net. But what had happened was when it hit that, I hit the glass so hard to let go of my racket, it went, looped around and went dunk, straight on my eye. And I hit myself in the face. And straight away I went, stop. But the ball was still in play. And everyone sort of went, what? Brian had hit it back, and they went, what? I said, I think I've just hit myself in the face quite badly. And they went, what are you talking about? Anyway, we stopped the game. And then as we were walking up, give me a look. Well, what they saw was the superficial stuff just here initially, where the scratches were. And they're like, oh, yeah, you've got some grazes there. Are you all right? And I was like, yeah, I'm all right. I said, it's just stinging a little bit. I'll be good in a minute. And they said, hey, let's have another look, because it's starting to pour blood now. And so they all hovered around. And then they said, pull your eye down. So I pulled my eye down. And when I pulled my eye down, what I'd done is split the eyelid. Like wide open with a big gash. And so now all the blood's starting to come down. And they were like, oh, brew. You're going to need stitches. You're going to need stitches. Like, no, surely not. But it's a paddle tennis racket. Anyway, look, the rest of the story is I managed to guts out the rest of the game. We won 5-0. So there was no. Yeah. I was just wiping the blood on my shirt and just kept playing. There's no way I was letting this glory be taken away from me by a little bit of bleeding.
You got issues, man. You got problems.
It's such a Justin Marshall story.
So this all happens. We wipe his ass 5-love, me and Mertz. So this is incredible. So good start for the All Blacks for the week, positive vibes. But then we've got to solve this stitching problem. So he goes, look, I'll ring the Springbok doctor if they're not training. So next minute, we're in his car, walking into the Springbok hotel, and I'm sitting in the foyer, sort of waiting for the Springbok doctor to come down, who generously said he'll stitch me up. He comes, so we're waiting for him. All the Springbok players come out the elevator. They're going to their gym session. Obviously, they recognise Brian. So he stands up. They're all shaking hands, so I'm obligated to stand up as well. And so I'm shaking hands. They're shaking hands. Every single one of them is looking at me. I've got this blood streaming down my face, a huge gash in my eye. And these oaks are like, what's happened to you? Like none of them looked as bad as me, and they just had one of the best test matches they've ever experienced physicality wise against the All Blacks at Ellis Park, and I'm in a worse state than them. So yeah, what happened after that was the Jerome, the Springbok doctor, took me up to his room. Here I am lying on the medical bed, and he popped 4 stitches in me. So yeah, that was my start to the week with paddle tennis. And just quickly on the paddle before we let that go, I then organised a game with Tony Brown and Andy, the fitness trainer for the Springboks. Mertz and I I got my confidence back to play again after a couple of days, and we beat them as well. So hey, I did my job. I did my job for the All Blacks in Test week. I set the scene and gave the Springboks nothing.
2-0 Justin Marshall.
Yeah. You got issues, man. You got issues. But is that why you lost your voice too, screaming so much in the matches?
Well, there was a lot of screaming in terms of the 2 paddle tennis games, but equally, I was doing a little bit of work for the brandy that I've invested in, Avant, which is South African distilled actually in the Stellenbosch area. So I had to do some work and some promotional work for them off the back of doing a few corporate gigs. But equally, like the test match at Ellis Park, I was feeling like I'd done a lot of excitement in terms of my voice and voice levels and octane and all that. So yeah, by the time I sort of got to Friday, I was starting to feel my voice was starting to feel a little bit husky. Come Saturday for commentary, it was... Everybody said, oh, you've obviously been doing a lot of chatting, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, what happened was I did the sideline commentary and the pre-game for Supersport. Another amazing game of rugby, gentlemen. And
incredible.
Excitement levels and drama went to the next level, which was brilliant. But obviously the game, again, and particularly in the last quarter, so I could feel my voice going a little bit in the commentary, but it hung in there. And then after the game, there's a bit of a reprieve, and I was on a few waters. So anyway, get on the post game, and I go to speak, and the first question's directed at me, and it's Marshy, what another epic Test match, drama in the last 10 minutes. Malcolm Marx has gone over. God, what did you think of that? And I went, oh, it's nice. And everybody looked at me and went, what? I went, I've lost my voice like that. And they all started cracking up laughing. I said, my voice is gone like that. And I had to put the mic down, literally. And so pretty much, unfortunately, my voice had run out of puff by the post-game. And I reckon I said maybe 15 to 20 words. And if you caught 6 of them in the post-match, then you would have been doing well. But a couple of exciting weeks.
What about that? A quiet Justin Marshall.
Yeah. What did you make of the game, though, Marshy? There's it feels from an All Black supporter's point of view, from my point of view, it feels like we're not far away, and this is one of the best Springbok teams we've ever seen, and we're not far away from beating them.
No, we're not. And obviously, we are in their backyard. Playing the Springboks in South Africa is the ultimate in the game, I think, as a player. You know, putting that All Black jersey on because of that history, because of that greatest rivalry, you know, that's why you put the jersey on and test yourself against the best in their homeland. And the 2 test matches certainly delivered on that. And the good thing for me, to summarise both, but then equally, as I know we're going to digest Cape Town more now, at least the All Blacks were competitive in both. And in both instances got themselves into good positions to be able to win the test match. So I guess that's a massive positive, because before they left here, with dropping the Argentinian tests, good performances against England, and then a good blowout win against Argentina and Fiji. Arriving into South Africa, I think everybody in New Zealand was pretty nervous, weren't they? So I feel that, yes, we can break and ball the games down, and we lost both test matches, but we were in them, and many didn't know whether or not we'd even be on the same page as the Springboks, but we were on the same page, and in fact we're on the page enough that we're probably now, more than before we left, disappointed, because we could have got a result out of both of those games, or at least one of them, but we didn't.
I think we have to pay homage here to an incredible box side. Like, I think what the Springboks did in the 63rd minute when Willie LaRue was sin-binned. Here was an opportunity, 13 down, the All Blacks, and for the next 10 minutes, the box with 14 men looked the more dangerous side. They created more opportunities because their willingness to work really hard for each other is, I think that's what pretty much represents an incredible team, that trust and belief where, so they're ball carriers, right? Like every time got over the advantage line, and we probably saw a maximum of 1 to 2 players in the ruck. Like using 1 to 2 players. Look, it has its downsides because then you've got the the offset of them potentially having a lot of jackling penalties.
So just to back it up a little bit, because you're talking about ruck numbers, and we spoke beforehand off air, and you were talking about how people sometimes focus too much on the ruck, but it's almost what happens before that.
Yeah, so, man, I believe it's all about the ball carrier first. Like if that ball carrier gets to that weak shoulder, Marshy, as you know, that weak shoulder or gets into that space and gets over that advantage line, then it allows for the clean out and for players to make smart decisions where then you get the numerical advantage. Like if you're only chucking 1 or 2 players into the ruck every single time, so that means your first player has to have an effective clean out, but that means there's a lot of onus on the ball carrier, right? And that's where I believe the All Blacks were different from last week. I thought the forwards, the piggies, rolled their sleeves up last week. Not saying they didn't, this week, but they weren't as effective. And we saw a lot of rucks where there were 3, sometimes 4 All Blacks. So automatically your number's down, right? Like you're straight down, and it just allows for the Springboks to spread. But I think in that when Willie LaRue got sin-binned and they created more opportunity, I think they actually they created more opportunity than the All Blacks, and I think that just sort of represents just how amazing the Springbok side is.
They're just really proficient at knowing all aspects of their game now. Like the Springboks used to have one aspect of their game. That was kicking strategy, territory, and then they'd just bash the living daylights out of you with good hard ball runners. Yeah, they'd have some variation to a degree, bringing their centres in because why not? Delende and Creel can carry. So, but it was very direct style orientated rugby. So direct. Now they've got second man plays. Now they've got width in their game, as JP mentioned. It's all done off good carriers, but the way they use Khaleesi in the back line, the way they use Jasper Visa, the number 8, and then Quaka Smith comes on, and he's a real menace in around picking and going around the breakdown. Like the balance to their game is outstanding. And then they've got the bomb squad and a guy like Malcolm Marks, who I just thought he could have been given the man of the match, and he was only on there for 35 minutes or 30 minutes. He just his ball carry and then his composure, the things that he did in that game to help the Springboks win it. Those types of players only get to that level through time and experience, and he's at that level, and I've got quite a few of them coming off the bench. And people ask me after the game, wandering around, say, yes, it's a great game. Both of them. They've been dramatic. You guys have been in it. What can you put your finger on exactly why the Springboks are winning at the moment and the All Blacks aren't? And I said, because the Springboks don't know how to lose. They don't accept that they're ever beaten, whether they have to chase a game or close a game. They've got the experience, the nous, and now the game plan to know how to win rugby matches, even if they're not the best team on the field on the day.
That Kolbe, man. Oh, my. He threw the fucking ball in.
How good's he?
He threw the fucking ball in. Oh, my God. Look, shut up. I
couldn't believe that.
Mate,
I was in
he took a
commentary,
drop
I
goal.
spotted it. And yeah, he did. And I said in the commentary, I was like, that's Cheslin Kolbe about to throw. Malcolm Marks went to the front of the line out, and I was like, what the hell are they doing here? And it was a good throw, JP. I tell you what, you would have been proud.
It was a cracker. I was like, stop it. Mate, you just pretty much shattered my entire career. But it's like, and he's bumping 120 kilos. I'm going to say it, best player in the world today, Kolbe. There he is. Bang.
I said it at the weekend.
Oh, mate.
Yeah. I feel that he's the most exciting player. Well, Anton Dupont, I guess, but Kolbe's on a par with him. Like the way that he's got such multiple skills and power and speed across the park. And man, he almost scored scored a try out of nothing when he made that break right through the middle and skinned about 3 very good All Black defenders, with making them look pretty average. Yeah, he is. I'm with you. I think he's equally in debate to be on a par, if not better, than Anton Dupont as best player on the planet at the moment.
How's Razor doing? Have you spoken to him? Have you heard from him?
Yeah.
I saw Razor on the plane today, but obviously he was 50 seats in front of me, so I didn't have the opportunity to talk to him.
Get to the back.
And I tell you what, he looked a lot more comfortable than I was as well. I was like
Human pretzel, there it is.
He was making his way around a few of the players and that sort of thing. I saw him up and down a bit. Saw the week that he had. There's a guy that we know, Seth Hulley, who's involved in Oakley, and he's been a big part of looking after the All Blacks and in particular the Crusaders throughout I think 30 visits and probably over nearly 25, 30 years that I've been going to South Africa. But anyway, I say this because generously, Seth is always good for a couple of pairs of sunnies, but more importantly, he's a great mate of Razor's, and I know that they went out surfing a couple of times. They went to Big Bay and did some surfing and had a couple of good catch-ups. So to me, that was he's not locked himself in his room and overstressing about tactics and overstressing about game plan. That he's still able to be himself, get out, have a surf, go out for a beer with Seth or coffee in the morning. So I learned all that through Seth, that was his week. So I think in terms of pressure, that tells me he's handling it okay at the moment. The problem is the more test matches you lose as All Black coach, the more that pressure doesn't go away, and it only basically gives you more baggage. So. Look, I spoke to him before the game in Johannesburg. I spoke to him before the game in Cape Town. And in both instances, he felt good about their prep. He felt good about their game plan. And he said, mate, we're ready to play in both of them. But now's different. He's got a different couple of weeks facing him, hasn't he, where he's got to reevaluate that they've just lost 4 test matches on the bounce, 4 to the Springboks, 1 against Argentina. And he's got 2 Bledisloes coming up, which is a trophy he certainly won't want to be losing, and then that much talked about end of year tour. So, yes, I think he's still in a good headspace at the moment, in answer to your question, Andy, but that doesn't mean things are going to get any easier and the pressure is going to dissipate. It's only going to increase.
Marshy, you were over there for a couple of weeks. You saw a couple of cracking test matches. Who were the standouts for you as far as All Blacks?
Yeah, I have been, and I got to witness it firsthand, live at the stadium, in the environment, in the atmosphere, knowing that the All Blacks are in a hostile situation. It's never easy to play in South Africa. JP will reinforce that. It's one of the hardest places to play in the world, and you're at altitude, and then you've got to deal with transitioning from that and the crowd and everything else, and the support that they get. I can't say that I'm disappointed with the way the All Blacks played in those 2 test matches, but in terms of individuals, lots got opportunities. Cortez Latama got his chance at the weekend, and then equally, Wallace Satiti, because of the injury to Ethan Blackadder. I thought Ethan Blackadder himself had a fantastic game in Johannesburg, and Tupu Vaa'i, he really stepped up. Cody Taylor, I thought, just 2 test matches of exceptional quality. And then every other player had their moments. Damien McKenzie had his moments. Equally, so did Rieko Ioane getting his chance back at centre. A few changes on the wing. Look, I think we missed Caleb Clark. I think he's probably playing the best rugby he's played in a very long time. And probably the one glaringly obvious one that we're just trying to cope with at the moment is the Will Jordan one. And this is where, I might have egg on my face, because I've been the one saying he needs to play fullback. He's better there. But he really struggled to get into the game again at the weekend. And the week before, he got substituted off the wing because he couldn't get into the game. So he's just a little off at the moment. He hasn't regained that mojo that he had. Yes, he played well against Argentina, but he was up against that really aggressive defence for the first time in a very long time, because he didn't play the England series. So they're probably going to have a look at that and just wonder why he's struggling to get back to where he was at the Rugby World Cup. But I have no doubt that he will get there. But lots of individuals to like. And again, for me, probably the main one, Wallace Satiti. I think he's got a commander position in that back row. And I do believe at number 8. And let's see what Artie goes like on the side of the scrum. How about we try that against the Wallabies?
Wow. Yeah, actually, I could not agree with you more, mate. I thought Wallace Satiti was, wow. And that's what youth does, though, too, right? Youth just brings exuberance. Like they just like bring this aura or this essence of there's a rookie, man. They just want to be there. They're just so happy to be there, and it's really infectious. So, man, I think that's a great call. Maybe even outside centre too. I'd look at someone like Proctor. I thought he had an incredible Super Rugby season this year. I mean, look at the Wallabies, man. We've had 16 debutants. So I think this would be the time for Razor to look at, bringing in some fresh players potentially. And again, man, that's normally when you change selection is when you've had losses and you've had 2 on the bounce. So, and that's what the Wallabies could use. Some fresh faces would be nice for leading into the Bledisloe Cup.
What benefit do we get from moving Artie to 7 away from 8, where he's carrying the ball a lot?
He's not carrying the ball a lot. Artie gravitates to the ball, and because he's got this unique set of skills and this power, you'll find him pick and go. You'll find him getting a pop off 9. Equally, he can be a second, third receiver. But in general, he plays Artie's way. He doesn't play a true role of any loose forward. He's just got this license to do what he sees instinctively in front of him. And he does get over the ball a lot, like an open side should. So why not allow him to have that balance, and then you play a genuine out-and-out number 8, a guy that he'll go off the back of the scrum, he'll put his hand up, he'll want to carry as a first or second receiver. We saw him distribute 3 or 4 times out the back to McKenzie, so he's got that skill set to throw that pass. And then you've got the toughness in a Ethan Blackadder on the other side of the scrum. And equally, you've got yourself good line-out options. So that, to me, is a more stable back row. It just balances out better.
Yeah, they definitely missed Ethan Blackadder. Yeah, he was huge last week. Good call. I think they need to, though. I think the All Blacks definitely need to. I think they need to change some selections, and 2-0, like two, they lost 2, man. They have to.
I think they need to ask a few questions because they haven't. And they asked one by putting Will Jordan at fullback, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And to a degree, he's still struggling in both positions, wing and fullback. He's not recaptured that World Cup form. Yes, he played well against Argentina, but that wasn't against the England and South African blitz defence. So they're starting to work that out, where he's best suited. But they haven't done that at 10. And this is not saying Damien McKenzie's playing shit. I've never said that he is. He's a miraculous player. But why don't you put Beauden Barrett there just to see whether or not the team dynamic and attack changes? There's no harm in doing it now.
Yeah.
If we're going to get to the point where we want to get to, which is we're number 1 in the world again, we've got to answer all these questions till we get the players in their positions where they perform the best. And I agree with you. Is that back line going to be better or worse for Proctor being in it? Well, we won't know unless we ask that question. Well, we're not having the greatest season as it goes. So maybe we've got this opportunity now just to experiment a little bit. And that experimentation will not be too big, I don't think, because we do not want to lose that Bledisloe Cup. I can tell you that now. So it'll be minor tweaks.
But that's the key, though, right? Too, Marshy. Like we saw 2 10s, man. Like you saw Sasha and then Pollard play. Like normally when you see a different 10, like you see either an increase or a decrease. My God, like it was just seamless. Like, if you don't create depth within a squad where they're fighting, it's the fighting on the pitch, right, on the training pitch between positions that creates the hunger to keep that starting spot. And I think, again, after 2 losses, there has to be some thought in the selection process here.
I'm going to lob another grenade in there just very quickly, Andy, because I can't help myself when it comes to debating all back positions. And it's just going to lob in there and it's going to sit unexploded. But I would really like to see Noah Hotham get a go.
Yes, good call.
What do you like about Noah Hotham? Go on. I'm a big fan.
I just like the energy he brings. He brings basically, he takes steps as a 9 at times when he needs to. When I talk about take steps off quick ball, he'll take a quick couple of steps and then he can hit runners coming off him, or he's got this really good line break in him to be able to beat a defender, and it just offers the defence something different. He doesn't just go there and just flick it away like Aaron Smith, flick it away like Cortez Latama was doing, whatever. He'll actually challenge defenders, and he's nippy and fast. He's not afraid to punch down the blind side. His all-round core skills are really good. His performance in Argentina drew massive compliments from the coach, Scott Robertson. He said, wow, what a performance, And he wasn't fazed about having to be injected into the game in an unusual spot, the one that he wasn't basically expected to fulfill. He wasn't expected to go into the second half with Ratama getting that head knock. He came on, and look at the result against Fiji. Get him in there. I think he deserves an opportunity, and I think we need to again see, where we're going to get to once Cam Roydgard comes back. We've seen what TJ can offer. We can see what Cortez can offer. We know what Finley Christie offers. Is Noah Hotham going to be allowed to stay in the mix? Because when Roydgard comes back, he hasn't really had a chance. So there's an opportunity there for him to have a go as well. Boom! That grenade just exploded.
I know
I talk too much.
I know it's a Bledisloe, but I don't know if you watched the game in the weekend, Marshy, on your NordVPN, but I don't think Razor's going to be too bothered about mixing up the side.
Fuck off. Here we go. No. Actually, you know what? Throw it, because of your delay, your flight, Marshy. I was able to use my NordVPN to use the streaming services in Australia just to rewatch the Wallaby game, and still the same result. Still the same result.
Even though you get different commentators and different perspective from panels and that, because obviously with the NordVPN, you have this ability to take in the host broadcaster, because you would have been listening to
Yeah.
Australian commentary. So like
Correct.
with my NordVPN, I got the Australian commentary because they were the host broadcaster for the entire English side of the commentary. And equally, if you were using your NordVPN in New Zealand, which you can do, regardless of what commentary, mate, 50 fucking points. No more.
So
I will say though, the other thing about NordVPN is it protects you online. So I'm about to have my 6th child. So, yeah, all my kids, I think we can use. NordVPN allows you up to 10 devices. So, protects your kids as well. So,
and do you know another thing? While we're talking about NordVPN, thanks for coming on board, guys. You can. You know, if you're like, when you're scrolling to book flights and stuff, and they know if your laptop has been looking at the same flights because they keep putting the flights up each time you go back. Jump on your NordVPN, scroll from another country, and you get cheaper flights.
oh yes, the lazy man's option.
That's
yes.
genius.
Yes, the lazy man's option. Yes, thank
Man.
you.
And to
I
get
wondered about that. I'm using that all the time now, because that kills you. They do know. Like,
they absolutely
Big Brother
know.
is watching out there. It goes up bloody it's algorithms, isn't it? And I know how that would work. NordVPN, you go into that, you can be looking from any country and it won't recognise it's you. Oh, it's JP looking for another flight. Oh, right.
Thank you, NordVPN.
To get a discount off
Thank
your
you.
NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/GBRANZ. Our link will also give you an extra 4 months on a 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode as well. How about those Wallabies?
Okay.
How about those Wallabies?
We were amazing for 29 minutes.
I actually had that in my notes. I had that in my notes. Where is it? I'm just going to read this out to you. 30 minutes, 20-3. Wallabies look great.
Yeah.
44 minutes, Australia defended a line-out drive. Is this the turning point for Australian
Mate,
rugby?
that in the 77th minute, actually. Look, again, to me, that shows progression. Like progression with we had our 16th debutant, man, Josh Canham, 16th debutant in a calendar year, and I actually think there might be another debutant come the Bledisloe Cup too. I'd love to see Cora Toole be our 17th. Like, you just can't get away from speed, man. Speed. He'd be the fastest man in Super Rugby, like, if not potentially rugby. Like, he'd be up there in terms of speed. But
He went to the Paris, didn't he?
yeah, he went to the 7th. So, look, how do you digest that? Look, they would be absolutely hurting, like, to capitulate like that. And you know, I think it was 41-27 with 10 minutes to go after Tate McDermott, after he came on and injected a little bit of energy within the side. But, mate, even coming up to that 29th minute when the Wallabies were in control, like, straight away alarm bells, red flags were showing for me. They looked gassed. Like, in the 25th minute, the referee called a drinks break. So obviously the heat must have been horrific over there. Like, they've gone from like cyclone to Sahara Desert within a week. Obviously no excuse, but you'd have to question what the training schedule was for the week. Like, you know, I sort of mentioned last week, lots of recovery, not too much, because it's normally your second week you start to feel the jet lag too, because Marika Korobidi never misses a tackle, never miss multiple tackles. Is constant, like, he'd be one of the fittest men in world rugby, and I saw him struggling. Like, to me, Bobby V, big Bolly Valentini, like, easily won the John Eales medal like last year, easily Australia's best player. Saw him struggle. You know, our top players looked completely gassed, like, after 29 minutes. And even when the reserves came on at half time, like the great James Slipper, I think we've got to pay like a little bit of respect here. 139 tests at loose, in the front row, played loose and tight head prop. What an achievement.
Oh, that's an incredible achievement, James Slipper, and really nice bloke to boot, which is actually a rarity for Australian front rowers. But, no, incredible, and to do that in the front row and to be able to play both sides of the scrum. One of the world greats. He'll go down as that for a front row for sure. Look, when I look at it, JP, I probably agree with you. Like the Wallabies were in the contest initially and were going toe to toe, and that was good and heartening to see. Speaking last week, I did say that. Well, I particularly did say that I liked what John Smith was trying to do. He was looking like he was figuring out the DNA of this Wallabies side, and he's experimenting with players and doing that, and just trying to find the right rhythm and balance as to how this team was going to play, how the individuals within that were going to play, and then 3, how he was going to formulate a game plan around it. I think that if I was him and I was this team, I wouldn't have the baggage. I would screw that up and I would throw it in the rubbish bin, and I would give it the basil brush and just go from the sort of 30th minute onwards. They looked like they got a little bit ambushed by Argentina, who upped the tempo. Argentina's confidence grew massively. Every pass stuck. Everything they did turned to gold. Everything Australia did basically turned to brown. And the players just got themselves completely deflated. Even the bench couldn't add impact. One of those games that, embarrassingly for them, they lost the will to be in the contest. And you could see it in their body language. I'm not going to say they gave up, but they certainly they lost the fight and the dog in them that's usually there. And I think that would be the one thing, if I was Joe Smith, that I would address, and you just say, look, we might have gone on to lose that test match, but by fuck, we only lose it by 10 or 12 points, not 50. And I think that'll be the thing which will really piss them off more than anything. So I think they've got to go, we'll never, ever drop our standard and drop our attitude like we did in that test match, because that's the benchmarks for us learning to never let that happen again, because it looked like it happened to me. They just lost the will to stay in the fight.
Joe Smith, in his post-match, said we lost a connection in our defensive line. He also said we didn't put enough pressure on at the breakdown, so they were operating on lightning quick ball, which they were. My gosh.
So when we talk about like not enough pressure at the breakdown, the only way you can put pressure on the breakdown is if you've got a strong defensive line and you have line speed and you snap them, right? You get off the line and you put them on the ground. It's very, very simple. And again, it's attitude. Defense is attitude. And Marsha, you're 100% spot on. Is the learning from this is not to give up. Like, at the end of the day, if they didn't score another point, didn't matter. But to let points in is purely attitude. And this is sort of something they should cut up, the vision they should cut up. Wouldn't spend too long on it. Like I would, like, we all know what it is. It's a debacle for the players. Wouldn't spend a lot on it, but I definitely keep that vision of that game and cut it up of the poor efforts to then energize players and remind them to never be in that position again. But, you know, so to go on it technically, when you're constantly in jockey defense, right? Like, so what I mean by jockey defense is when you've got more attacking players than defenders, what you're trying to do is you're facing towards the sideline and you're turned back to your try line and you're basically jockeying backwards, waiting for the inside player defensively to help you because they've got too many numbers and you're driving them to the sideline. They were in constant jockey defense for like 50 minutes. Like, so how to stop that is you don't go so hard at the breakdown, right? You snap them, get up, don't go hard at the breakdown and get numbers into your defensive line and create a line speed. And we didn't see that. And that's, you know, and when you get yourself into the shit, you need to be able to correct yourself on the field. And this is what I've sort of been saying for weeks now is that, again, go back to defense. It's irrelevant attack. Attack is absolutely irrelevant if you can't stop points. So, that learning curve for all those young players is what nightmares are made of. Like, really, man, nightmares, man. Like, it's just can't say I've never been a part of something. Oh, there was one game, sorry. There was a trial match against the Chiefs. We lost 50-0 because we were playing on, like, concrete. Said, man, bugger this, man. We're not playing that. It was a trial, right? Like, who cares about a trial? But when you're in a situation like that, you need to be able to stop the rot. We used to call it stop the rot. And that comes back to defence and attitudes, because all these other little things like not enough pressure at the breakdown, depth or, shape or anything like that in attack, it's all irrelevant. It's all bullshit unless you don't defend.
Can I just ask you guys, so this is a real low point. I mean, you got spanked and you got knocked out in the World Cup in the pool stages. We're in a pretty dark spot as far as Australian rugby supporters goes. When do you think we could start seeing some good results? Like, how quickly can we turn it? Because when we remember the Waratahs got spanked by the Crusaders by 98 points. And then
63-0 at halftime.
Yeah, but the next year they came back and bet the Crusaders. The next year. So the Wallabies, you're thinking at the moment, if you're a supporter, you're in a dark hole. Where is the light? How far away is the light?
Do you know a similar score line happened in 1997 against the Springboks, actually. In altitude, there was some really young players, young Stephen Larkham, young Joe Roth, young Ben Toon. And it was a dark moment. Like, coming off a bashing in 96 too, in Wellington, I think, the All Blacks as well. So it was a couple of rough years. Like, really couple of rough years. But obviously in 98, we still had guys like John Eales, Phil Kearns, Dan Crowley, Jason Little, Tim Horan, Daniel Herbert. There was still some pretty incredible players in that team to then win 3-0 in 98 in the Bledisloe Cup. Look, I hate to say this, but we've got to strap in here. Like, there's going to be a lot more pain than what there is going to be good. Like, this is going to take a bit.
Oh, come on, mate. Give us some hope.
Oh, no, there is hope, because we were 1-1 in a tour. These guys lost 2-0. Like, mate, we like, we're a chance. Like, we're a chance. But no, but you can't fix things overnight, and you can't, like, turn 16 debutants into 100 test players. Like, it doesn't happen. You got to give them time, and you got to give Joe Smith the time. Like, what I saw last week, like, the week before, where we played for 80 minutes, we dug ourselves out of a hole. We stopped leaking points through our line out more defence. Look, it took us 6 games where we would just turn the tap on and any team could score. Like, we've stopped that. Like, there's been at least 6 to 10 different line-out driving by the Argentinians that we've repelled. Like, there's your start. So there has been progression, and I'm like, for me, like, you've just got to ignore results at the moment. Look, it's not a great result, please. Like, I get that, but the players themselves will be hurt and they'll learn from this. But there is going to be a lot more pain, man. Like, there's going to be a lot more pain. We can't. Like I said, you can't turn 16 debutants into 100 test veterans.
Yeah, I kind of think you need a catalyst game, and I think that could very well, if that's not it, I don't know where it's going to come from. And when I say a catalyst game, it puts a real perspective on things to you. And I think they will have perspective of exactly where they're at right now after that test match. Things were ticking along okay, but reality is, like, that type of performance is unacceptable. Like, to be competitive and then leak and concede the game like that in the manner that they left it, that's when you have to have that catalyst game that goes, right, fuck, this is never happening to us again. We are never going to be made to look like this again. And from now on, it doesn't matter what team it is in the world, we are never going to let the Wallaby jersey be disrespected like that again. Then that's our mission, and that's what this team is going to do to move forward. And I feel that there's no other game that would be more fitting than to have your pants pulled down and not feeling great about yourself, but to yet prove everyone wrong. The Springboks, all they kept talking about was the game in North Harbour when the All Blacks put 56 on them, I think, 56-0. The whole country was embarrassed. The players were embarrassed. And they went to them. That was their catalyst game. We are not letting that happen to us again. This is historically a real massive dent in our history. And from then on in, they said that, so that was their catalyst game. So I think there's two things. That message that I've just sent about a catalyst game and how you move forward, and I said that. And the second thing is take on the biggest challenge that you can take on to prove that you can be that side. And that's the All Blacks. In your own country, in the first test of a Bledisloe Cup that you haven't had in over 20 years. That's how you test yourself as a Wallaby. For me, it's perfect storm, So if I was thinking about it, that would be everything that I would want to do as a Wallaby. Reset and say that's never going to happen to us again and all of those other things that I mentioned. But equally, righto, we've got the All Blacks coming into town. They will be a bit wounded. They will have some doubts. And they would have seen our performance against Argentina. But we're better than that, and they don't know that yet.
It's a hell of a team talk, Marshy. You got me a little bit worried now. Went into that conversation. 67 points, no chance. Now I'm thinking, oh, wow.
Mate, there's a little bit of any given Sunday right there, man. I was like, that's eye out on the ground. Look, I look, 100%. Do you know the catalyst for us winning the 99 World Cup was the 97 with Rob McQueen was the 97 tour to Argentina where they lost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They
Really?
lost.
Karma is coming into the GBRANZ podcast.
Yeah, man.
Bloody hell.
They lost.
This is scary stuff.
Yeah, they lost obviously Argentina weren't that great back then, and they lost the Test series over there. It was Rob McQueen's first tour with the Wallabies, and came back and changed everything. Changed boarding camp Wallaby, did all these different things off the field. Brought in new coaches, all this sort of stuff. So, I couldn't agree with you more, Marshy. I'd like to see some selection changes. Like I think Donaldson came in there and performed incredibly well. I thought he was very good. So I think he should start. And I'd like to see Tate McDermott start, man. He threw some energy into the team.
Could we try?
Yeah, I just think we need to. I just think he's a jack in the box. He's got a lot of energy and arguably one of the guys. Look, I love Jake Gordon, love Nick White. I think they're great experienced players and have served the Wallabies incredibly well. But I think Tate deserves a start. It'd be nice to see Fraser McWright back, but I don't think he's back yet at the moment. Solokai, Lotto, he was sorely missed. He has a great presence within the side. And Tom Wright as well, back at fullback. I think the injury, and I'd love to see Corey Toole get his first start, man. Like the pace, man, speed, actual genuine speed. So, look again. I think he needs to tinker with the side.
Next week, we are back in Sydney.
Yes,
and we have one of the greatest.
Yeah.
One of the greatest coming on the show.
Oh, yes, my good old friend.
You better wear an eye patch, Marshy, because I don't know if that's going to be safe around him.
I know, I better. But equally, one of the great characters of the game, like one of the hardest, toughest, and skillful players, but equally, he was a good man off the field. Fun, entertaining. And I will have to bring my A game, to be fair, because I know... Like he's so quick. Like you give him some shit. It's coming straight back at you, twice as fast. You got to get out of the way.
I lived with him for 5 years, man. I saw it, man, and I know you're lying now when you said skillful. So, mate, look, can't wait. He's a cracker of a bloke, and he probably typifies what playing with no skill. Absolutely no idea about the game, but just you can't skin fold a heart, man. Like he just had big ticker, like really, really big ticker, and arguably one of the best blokes I've met.
Do we want to say who it is? We don't want to say who it is.
No.
Okay, well, JP, do you want to just describe maybe a little bit more about like what he might look like, and people can maybe try and guess.
Okay,
guess who
well
it is?
he's got a face like a busted jandal, like. It's probably the best way. He's constantly bumping his head on the TV screens when he comes into a plane, because he's that tall.
He's got no ass.
He's got no. Yeah, he's a pregnant snake.
He's just
at the
legs.
moment. Yeah, he's all legs.
It's just calves that grow into kind of thighs, but no ass.
Probably one of the best comments I ever heard from a South African commentator was, he looks like a giraffe on steroids.
Yeah.
But easily the funniest man I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh, we're looking forward to it. That is on next week on GBRANZ. So make sure you tune in and you've hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to this on. And make sure you check us out on YouTube as well. Thanks very much for joining us.